Roadmap Roundup. And wait for it to get caught up just so I can verify that everything looks okay. Cool. All right. Just do your thing, buddy.
All right. So at the start of reading any CAG document that they give us, I like to do the header that they put in, just so we know what the purpose is from Star Citizen, from CIG of this document. So as we do every time, let's read the comments of the start. Every 2 weeks, we accompany the roadmap update with a brief explanatory note to give you insight into the decision-making that led to any changes. This is part of an effort to make our communications more transparent, more specific, and more insightful for all of you who help make Star Citizen and Squadron 42 possible. With that said, let's go ahead and dive into this week's Roadmap Roundup. All right. Notable changes for March 22nd, 2023. We have exactly one card. However, it's a really big card. The following cards have been added to Alpha 319's column on the release view. Tractor beams. No. Tractor beam. Add, attach, and detach. This iteration of the tractor beam gameplay will add functionality to the tractor beam attachment of the multi-tool, allowing us to detach and attach items from ship item ports. This functionality can either be used for components, exchange, replacement, or restock rockets, or to scavenge other ships. This. I don't think me or Tree saw this one coming from a mile away.
No, I definitely did, because we've both been watching tractor beams. Obviously with.
I thought this was gonna be like one of the last things they add.
Yeah, I was the item attach, the attach and detach for items, especially I don't think that the weapons were as unexpected, but the components, for the ones that are visible in game, the way I understood the ISC was if you can open up the panel and see the component, it will be physicalized and you will be able to manipulate it with the tractor beam. That's the way I understood it. If you understood it differently, let me know.
No, that's exactly what I heard. That's exactly what I heard. Okay, and the fact that freight elevators are coming soon and all that, that means maintenance on our ships. When we want to swap a component, it probably won't be the mobiGlass that we're swapping components in, since this isn't now. When freight elevators come in, it will probably come in on a freight elevator, and we'll have to manually swap it out, or we'll have to wait the allotted time for AI or background services to swap it out.
Yeah, they want to do a good point, because for me, what the first thing that came to mind,
audio bars still on the screen.
Oh, whoops! God dang it! This is gonna be so hard for me to get used to.
It's okay. I
apologize. And I adjusted your volume a little bit to try and equalize us, but the first thing that came up to me, it was obviously I'm a loot goblin, so finding your soft death wrecks and just, oh sweet, there's a wreck, I'm gonna go explore it and steal the things off of it, or acquire them. Gear adrift is gear a gift. But that makes that's a really good point, is being able to bring your loadout with you and swap it out based off of what you're going to be doing, and that's whether you're, Nick, you make a really good point, swapping out your quantum drives, if you're mining, swapping out mining heads, and
especially taking out other weapons. Players.
Yeah.
The soft death and things. If you can say, oh yeah, this guy has X weapons or X components, this guy's really hard to take down, I wonder what he has. Oh, he has an X, better quantum drive, better this, better that. It's just oh, these are my spoils of my achievement. Now it's just it's a very, very large tile. They're just oh, by the way, we can now use tractor beams to do this. I was not expecting this anytime soon. I was expecting definitely more fanfare with it. I hope we get when they do the trailers for every patch. I hope this gets its own trailer, even though the ISC was kind of its own trailer. I want some mechanic trailer for that. That's Like that's a really big deal.
It makes me think of like every other MMO, or even, whether it's an MMO or an RPG, and you're running around and you fight some enemies, and while you're fighting them, you're like, oh man, he's got that gear's really cool looking. I want to wear that. Or, oh, that weapon's, badass. How do I get, I need to get that weapon. Oh, well, then they, because sometimes like in RPGs, you kill someone and it doesn't drop the weapon they were using. You get what was in their pockets, and that was it. Well, with this, with Star Citizen, what we're have now, if they have the weapon equipped, you'll be able to yoink it off. And a lot of the ships, it's you're going to be able to yoink their components too. Somebody needs to make a spreadsheet. I don't have the time to do it, but somebody needs to do it to show how many ships have components that we can open up the hatch and look at, and we'll likely be physical.
That is a big spreadsheet. Oof.
Yeah. It's Nick. That was always the part of salvage I was looking forward to the most, was finding a wreck, and particularly in space, but on the ground too, and EVAing over to the wreck and going through the wreck and opening up all the cabinets and be like, oh sweet, they've got a 2897 rookie card for this person. I'm going to take that and sell it. And oh sweet, this component is still in good shape. I'm going to take that and sell it. But that was my first thought of was salvaging and loot goblining.
Yeah,
being able to have multiple loadouts on your ship is cool.
I didn't even think of that. You can bring extra weapons with you. I didn't even think of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, bring your reload for your missiles. Oh man!
And you can now play a fob. You can be a resupply base. I'm not saying the Kraken is soon. I'm just saying the Kraken should be soon.
Well, and it was funny because you mentioned that, but I was on Captain's Table last Saturday with the Tirakel, talking with Paul, and that was like our first Armchair Admirals and Generals episode, was talking about logistics, and here we are. We've got Tier 0 logistics coming in, with being able to bring in more components, bring in more missiles. You can't restock your ballistic ammo yet, but we're getting there. So you're getting your part of your logistics train for ships with this, and it's completely out of the blue. Like, surprise! Yeah, we figured out that we could do this. Just by accident. Yeah, the ballista reload is really huge. Yep.
Yeah. Can I have a cargo version of the Terrapin?
Yeah.
I'd love to hold missiles in that thing.
And I said this on Captain's Table, I'm going to say it again, is I want to see what sort of crazy jank shenanigans people come up with this. And totally, the devs are going to be like, we did not intend for that. I did not think that would do that. Like, my idea was,
missiles always
what if I
armed?
can be... Yeah, our missiles are always armed. Can I sit in the passenger seat of a Steve while someone else is driving, and they're doing 90 kilometers an hour, and I've got a tractor beam laser holding a size 5 missile, and just drive by a Nova Tonk and yeet it into the Tonk. Oh, and of course the internet is lagging. I apologize for the internet, guys. The upload is better.
If missiles still explode, you can make a makeshift minefield.
Yeah.
Just by placing missiles everywhere.
It'd be really cool if you could do that.
Oh no!
And like if you could drop like a size 9 torpedo, near something, and then just shoot it with a sniper rifle or a railgun, and But there's going to be all.
I feel like I make catapults. People are going to make catapults.
There's going to be a lot of unintended consequences from them releasing this, and I cannot wait to see the content that comes out of it and the reactions from the devs. Because they'll comment to things posted, on Reddit and such. And I'm looking forward to seeing the comments. Like, okay, that's unintended. We're gonna have to take that away, but good on you. Or okay, well. Fine. Yeah, I guess that's gameplay now. But yeah, that's it for the release view. But we do have updates to the ShinyTracker reports. Um,
What is ShinyTracker?
yes, so we've got all these raiders coming in from Star Jump. Thanks again for coming and hanging out, guys. I'm a couple days behind on my news before we get into the ShinyTracker. But does anyone know? Because I know that oh gosh, I'm brain farting. Their next Star Jump shipyard. The next one was on the
Endeavor,
which we're going to talk about tonight.
I'm going to tell you. You're gonna run the image.
Yes, I'm going to be the clicker person for the slideshow, like you did in high school.
Okay, very important job. Don't demean that job at all. Very important job.
I'm getting extra credit in order to help get my grade back up. But
it's to make up for all
when
the
they said
hotel Wi-Fi.
Yeah, the make up for the Wi-Fi lag. I can't remember when they said they were going to release the next shipyard video. I know it was coming up soon. If you're in chat still from Star Jump stream Thursday, Captain Sean Solo says it's on Thursday. So Thursday the 30th. If you haven't checked out, I'm assuming everybody from the Star Jump stream has already watched the Kraken one. But if you haven't checked out the Kraken shipyard video that they did over on their YouTube, it was really well done. I was, they always put out great content, but I was really impressed with how this turned out.
Yeah.
And
I really liked how they specifically noted how the design was really not finished, and like there's a lot of stuff they didn't that's not known because the Kraken came in before they started doing the Kraken was done before they started doing full interior concepts before like being done with the concept phase. Yep. So like there's like a med bay missing and like 30 to like 60% of the ship not filled out. Yep. There's just a lot of unknowns with the Kraken. Like everyone likes it for the stuff we know, but just imagine the stuff we don't.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the next one, and then let's see.
Yeah, the Endeavor is also one that like that's all. There's not a lot of the interior laid out.
There it is. Yeah. Well, imagine when the Endeavor does go through its actual concept.
If it's not done in the UK, we riot.
Yeah. But yeah, if you're here and you haven't checked out the Star Jump shipyard for the Kraken, go check that out. I highly recommend it. I enjoy using their the Star Jump hangar link, and it's right here up on my screen. I'm waving my mouse over it right now. But the hangar link will take you to it so you can play around and look at all the images. And
Fleet Viewer.
I use that in my video, and I'm going to be using it in the next video. So, do check them out. So let's take a look at the Delta report on the ShinyTracker. So ShinyTracker, if you haven't used the ShinyTracker tool, checked it out. It's shinytracker.app. And what this does is it's a bunch of scripts that go through the progress tracker, and they pull all the background data out of the progress tracker updates that isn't displayed on the visual version of the progress tracker. So, for example, if you remember from back in the day, before they changed the roadmap and added the progress tracker, back in like this is in 2020 and before, when they had things on the release view, they would have the number of tasks that they knew of that were assigned, and the number completed, or the number done towards completion. And then each update, usually a lot of times like some more tasks would get added, but more would get completed, on its way to completion. And sometimes they wouldn't get done in time, a lot of times, and things would get delayed. But people never understood, why does the number keep going up? Why are they falling behind? And it's because like during the development, you figure as you're developing something, you find more things to do, in order to finish the actual task. And it's, just that's what research and development, and research and development does. But so that information is still in the progress tracker. The issue is the progress tracker doesn't have a visual way of representing those tasks. It doesn't have a visual way of representing the actual breaks in the sprints within a deliverable. So a lot of times a team will work on a deliverable for a number of weeks, sometimes months, and then they'll stop working on it, and then they'll have more work added, or multiple teams will. And it'll look like a deliverable has been worked on for X amount of weeks, 100 weeks, 60 weeks, something like that. When in reality, the actual number of weeks that it was worked on is just dramatically less, but it's a collection of multiple smaller sprints. And sometimes each of those little sprints are broken up into even smaller sprints, but the progress tracker can't show these breaks. It isn't designed that way. That is a feature that isn't included in how the code is written on the website. And now it's a thing that they want to do. It's something that Jake has been asking for, since the onset of the progress tracker. But it's a matter of, do they take devs from Turbulent who are rebuilding the website into something that's more user friendly, and works better? Do they take them off of that to work on the progress tracker? Eventually they'll get to it, but the redoing the website and updating the website is of a higher priority than adding more features to the progress tracker set. So eventually we're going to get there. But for now,
not
we have
people
ShinyTracker.
buy a ship without his game package.
Mm-hmm.
That is the biggest gripe I have with the website right now.
Yeah. Well, and like Shiny Hobo, who is in my Discord, and he's really good about answering questions. He's also in the Astropro Discord. Mm-hmm. He is the guy who built it, and he's actually building another tool that will visually display the things on the progress tracker with the gaps and allow you to go back and search things retrospectively, I guess you'd say, to sort of get a historical. Cool. The way he explained it to me, or he, she, I always forget. I apologize. The way they explained it to me was that they were building it is it would allow for you to get a better historical view of the work done on something. Smithy Joe Bob,
better
welcome.
Stocking devs.
Yeah,
better stocking devs. With that all laid out, we have 12 modifications, 1 removal, and 0 additions. But there is a caveat. Please note that not all removals are intentional. There's currently a bug with how time is entered on the progress tracker that can cause deliverables to disappear. The reason I read that is because we have a disappearance, we have a removal of an unannounced vehicle. And we were talking about this. I hadn't read that disclaimer up at the top before. We were talking about this before the podcast. It's a vehicle. It's an unannounced vehicle. Now, I thought, there's one removed because we got the whole tractor beam thing. But that's not a vehicle. So I'm pretty sure that the vehicle team was one of the teams that Shiny Hobo said that they have a mismatch. So basically, it is dependent. Their schedules are dependent on their lead of each team. So if a vehicle team wants to schedule their team every week and the other vehicle team wants to schedule theirs every 2 weeks, there's a mismatch in schedules. And the progress tracker has no way of actually fixing that on its side. So when the progress tracker is built for I think it's a 2-week, 2-week schedule. And if they don't do a 2-week schedule, so let's say they do a each week schedule update for their team, every other week that progress track or that tile will drop off the roadmap because the progress tracker has no way of reconciling that schedule to show it. So I'm not saying that's what happened. That's just possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Jake has explained it to us where there are teams that they schedule their sprints based off of different lengths of time, and they're like the different teams sometimes within the same skill set, mission set, whatever you want to call it, will be like this one will schedule their sprints at 4 week intervals, and this one will be 9 week intervals, or it'll be like a number of days, like 20 days versus 3 weeks or whatever, and it makes it really hard for Jake to take all this information and put it into the progress tracker so that it shows up right. And the progress tracker has had bugs before. We did a scanner anomaly on a bug that I found out, I figured out and reported to Jake, and Jake, it took Jake a couple months to work with the people who built the progress tracker in order to get it fixed. And I don't even know if it's been fixed completely, but it was it was mostly with ships where they're being removed and put back on, and removed, put back on, at weird intervals with progress tracker updates because of the way that the team's schedules work and how their project managers work out their schedules. So, yeah. Weird.
Yeah, it's definitely. I forgot the words I was going to say. Oh, it's a great problem to have because it is a symptom of how open they are for their teams and their team's leadership. They're not restricting their teams. You must have this style of schedule. You must have your devs do this much work in X amount of time. They keep it very open. Like, you're the lead. You schedule your own team. We just need you to check in, X work per year or per sprint or whatever. They have vague deadlines so that they let their teams work how they need to work. And that is a great way
them to be flexible based off
work.
of what they're doing and and what kind of stuff that they do, and how much time do you need to work on.
It's a very
sprints,
indie way of working out
it is.
Teams. So that's really cool.
So
all right, so let's get into.
Has two different reports: the Delta report and the scheduled deliverables report. We generally spent a lot of time looking at the Delta report. But the scheduled deliverables report is also very informative. And then you can see these are the ones that are on the front page. But if you click here, it will take you to the archived ones. So you can go I guess all the way back to the beginning of the progress tracker and the ShinyTracker to look at archived data. So Nazeris, why don't you go ahead and get us started with the Delta report changes.
All right. So like I said, there wasn't one removed. Weirdly enough, it doesn't say any teams or what they were doing. It doesn't say freed up time, how many devs. It just says vehicle team. The vehicle content US does have 2 tech content devs had 3 tasks removed. And then vehicle content EU. That's all it says. The following teams have been freed up. But again,
it's really weird how they did that. Yeah, I think it's a bug too, because that's normally not the way they look when they're removed, or they
it looks buggy.
Change work. Yeah.
Trust us, we're QA. 12 deliverables updated. First one being cave archetypes. Now, almost all of these, almost exclusively every deliverable on this thing is VFX related. So, cave archetypes VFX team added 13 days of work. X1 to 2 art devs with 2 tasks. They're working at 128% being over. I don't know how to read that one. Okay. I can't read these things out right.
What they did is they had
VFX devs added to the cave archetypes.
They added one art dev working on these 2 tasks, and then they added another one, and they went from 128% load to 64% load. So that way they are spreading the load out on those 2 tasks.
They're multi-threading.
You get this one, you get this one. Yeah, they're multi-threading, exactly. Multi-threading with people.
That's how it was done. That's the basis of the Industrial Revolution. you can make a chair really fast. But if we have everyone stand in a line, we can make 50 chairs in the same amount of time.
Yeah, and for some things that works, and other things it doesn't. But the other thing that's important to note is VFX is a downstream team. Thank you for the follow, ball bounces, much appreciated. But yeah, VFX
Are you an
is a
animator?
downstream team. So it a lot of times when VFX gets their work scheduled, it is oftentimes pretty far along in the development process of a deliverable. It doesn't always work out that way, depending on what the deliverable is. But like for ships, for locations, oftentimes for new tech, they are a little bit farther down the line as far as the development of something. That's why they are a downstream team. So it's when you see VFX teams being added, it's usually a good prognostic indicator of the progress of a deliverable. Now, does it mean that they're going to be done with fire hazard after the VFX team finishes their work? Well, no, this is only, part of their schedule, and we don't know how much longer they're going to have. We don't know if them doing their work is prerequisite for another team to come in and do their work after. There's no way of knowing, but it's a good prognostic indicator when you see the VFX team being added to the schedule for deliverables. So that's why when Nazeris and I were going through this, we're like, ooh, this is good. These are good signs. So.
Ooh, indeed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Computer just went hiccup.
Sorry, I just saw fire hazard in there. Having work done. Fire hazard is one of those. Basically, it got most of the way done, and then they stopped because the things to set it up or the things to fight back against the fire hazard was going to take longer. So they've been kind of like slow burning the last remaining tasks. It looks all the VFX art or the VFX work done was back in the end of February, beginning of March. I'm not saying it's done. I'm saying it's possible it could be done.
It shows that they're pretty far along with it, and they did all that VFX work. They've been continuing to work on it, and it's interesting because it was the VFX team, but with tech,
your camera
tech content dev. Oh, weird. And art dev and an engineering dev. I guess I have to hold on one second. I think it means to close that.
Go ahead. Again? Yeah. Fire hazard does not need they can finish the fire hazard without having the other things, resource management and life support done. But it won't be hooked up yet, so they'll need basically a little tweak pass back on fire hazard when those two come in. But they may be far along, both in resource management and life support tier 0. So you have one and life support ends in September according to the current roadmap, and resource management also ends in September according to the current roadmap. Again, those will both probably extend because they're really big features. That's just as far as the progress tracker goes, I believe, currently. But they may be far enough along to know the hookups they need for the fire mechanic. But I think it'd be really cool if we got it in a 320. But yeah, I think fire hazard is actually done. And they may even start adding it to more ships than what the 3 they have. They have the 600. I know they have the 600. I don't remember the other 2 ships they put it on. But yeah. I think fire hazard actually is done, not waiting for more work.
Well, and it's
just waiting for
it makes sense that they've been
gameplay.
Doing the VFX work to finish it up because of what they showed us at CitizenCon, where they were working on that stuff in order to be able to turn off power as part of the resource network, to vent a room with life support, and all that. So the question, the good thing is ships have been built this way for a long time, and so we don't know to what extent it will be added to how many of the ships that are already in game, and how systemic it is. But it will, I imagine based off the way they've been describing things, it isn't going to be we're only releasing it for 2 ships when it comes online. I think it's going to be part of a more holistic system, and that as they're going through this work, they'll probably taking time with the sprints, the miscellaneous and the tech debt sprints, bug fixing sprints, that they do in order to bring other ships up to snuff to utilize this new tech. Charge and drain VFX work. We haven't heard anything about that in a long time, but so I'm looking forward to hearing what they're doing with that.
What that even is. Like, what is charge and drain?
Like energy drain. Here, let's pull it up on the Pathfinders tracker.
But we have charging weapons. What is it? The snipers charge, don't they? The energy zappy thing.
I think it's like charging and draining like your battery packs for
like the battery packs things. For the plugging into a charger kind of charge.
Yep. So all backend tasks related to creating the first pass of the charge drain power feature that will be used in future location and mission updates.
Oh, that's much bigger than I thought it was. For some reason, I thought it was like the time it took to charge up a weapon. I don't know why I'm this dense. No, that's like that's a base battery feature for like the power grid.
Yeah.
That is actually kind of huge. Because that will work into the resource manager.
Oh yeah, resource management, and I think the way they've described in the past too is also being able to, like, if you've got, I guess you'd call them like capacitor mags or whatever for your energy weapons, being able to plug them into, a device at a location to charge them up, but also being able to, as like a sabotage or sneaky gameplay, being able to drain the power supply or the batteries, because ships and locations are going to have batteries as part of their power supply, and being able to shut down the power and then drain the battery.
No, that's actually much bigger than I thought it was. Lorville, 41 days of work added.
That's good. And they did just say that they're like just they're finishing, they just had their go no go, like it's ahead of schedule. From that to SCL, Miss Cole C, everybody's favorite, the one that so many people who watch this podcast.
Yeah, it was Montreal. Montreal doing Montreal things.
Pardon me. I'm coughing because I ran before the podcast, so I'm a little bit dry. So
I slept.
Miss Cole C getting downstream work done with VFX, and really they're just polishing the shit out of this, until it's god dang perfect, while they're waiting for
they're just keeping it at the current standard
factor. And the new player experience one is interesting too. So while I was running today, I was listening to the Captain's Table podcast with it was Digital something, I forget what his name was, and Space Coder talked about the new player experience. And with the new player experience, and I think there's been a lot of miscommunication, misunderstanding from what they have said in like ISCs, SCLs, and the monthly reports, as well as here. So an initiative for improving the initial first 30 minutes gameplay experience, which will help players understand the context of the world and introducing them to some of Star Citizen's basic features. This will include updates, and this is the part that everybody seems to miss. This will include updates to landing zones, spaceports, HABs, shops, and more. So first 30 minutes, this is going to teach you how to, and they're just doing it for ArcCore, and that a lot of the confusion in the podcast, the Captain's Table, was, why are they not doing this for other landing zones? How does Star Citizen build anything or do anything? They do the first version. They get to establish the workflow and get feedback, and release it to us, and they get more feedback, and then they revise the workflow, they implement that feedback, and then they add more of them, and so after this first one, we'll get it added to the other landing zones, but they're not going to do all the work for all 4 landing zones plus, Grimhex or whatever, without getting the feedback from the players, without putting it to the test. They do a limited release, so that way they're not wasting a whole bunch of time and effort. building something that they have to go back and change across the board. If they just do it on one location first and then the other ones after, once you've got it nailed down. So they're doing this for ArcCore and by Genie Point, and basically they're just going to get a workflow for showing new players how to navigate a landing zone, how to get to the shops and how to use the shops, how to use their inventory, how to get to the how to use the tram system and get to locations, read signage, get to the spaceport, get your ship out, fly it out of the hangar without crashing, and get up to the space station, request a landing zone, and land there safely. And that's to me the extent of it. If there's anything beyond that, I'll be surprised. But really, the first 30 minutes of the game, they'll build upon that for later. But they need to get this first iteration in order to build to add this to the other landing zones. And the reason they're doing this now is because they need to get this nailed down as they're building more landing zones and starting places for
before
for
Squadron
players.
leaves.
Yeah, and before Squadron and all that, but they have to get this portion of the new player experience done. A lot of the other stuff, and there's a lot of back and forth about, why are they doing this now? Things are going to change. All of the things that are included in this description have not hardly changed in years. The way you interact with shops, the way you interact with your, the inventory is new, but you still press the I button, and look at things. The way you go get your ship from an ASOP terminal and go to the hangar, and start your ship up hasn't changed in years. And if they do it right, where maybe there's voiceovers, but the voiceovers don't say the hotkey. They just say, okay, now you need to do this, and then a pop-up on screen that tells you whatever the hotkey of the month is. But for the most part, these things
Hotkey of the month.
But that's
or
it
could even be like just contextual, just even if you bind it.
The way you deploy your landing gear, or set cruise control, or the keybinds for for mouse and keyboard for you if you're setting quantum, all that stuff has not changed. And there are going to be adding new things, but I'm sure that they're building this in a way where whatever changes come are going to have minimal impact on it. But they need to get this done so that way they can get the feedback, and then from the new player experience, in order to incorporate it into the one the further iterations and the adding it to the other locations, because they need to incorporate this workflow as they build more systems and build more starting locations. They don't want to build Sherman on Cascom and Castra without having this nailed down. They don't want to be they don't want to
Terra.
redo, or they don't want to definitely don't want to get into Terra. But even like when they go to finish updating Levski, they want to have this nailed down before they finish updating Levski, because they don't want to they want to do it all in one pass. So it makes sense that they're getting it done now, but they also make sense that they're doing it in this limited first release in order, because it's the same way that they go about building everything. Build one, get the workflow done, get the feedback, and then build a whole lot more.
The benefit of doing it on ArcCorp and Magini is they know they're throwing out ArcCorp, which means they want the data from the new play experience to direct them how to rebuild it.
Yeah, this will inform how they update this on the other landing zones, how they incorporate it into building the new ones, how they, update it, and when they redo ArcCore, and we don't, who knows how much the walkability part of ArcCore will change. We have no idea, but we do know that they're going to change the planet a lot and the tech used to build the planet. But when they do that, if they do make changes, they obviously want to have the roadmap, for how they do this, laid out for them. VFX team for Pyro and Planet and Mission setup.
Yep.
Downstream.
So that work was finished back in February. All this VFX, most of this VFX work was done back in February. The sprint
this one
ended
was
back
just
in February.
finished like today, but I imagine the sprint will probably get continued. But the fact that they have VFX 3 art devs with a very low workload.
Oh, interesting. That's actually not
yeah.
reflected. No, the sprint is today. The VFX was last month.
Oh, okay.
That's how it comes out.
I see.
So tentatively, Pyro done? Question mark.
Yeah, but yeah, they're polishing, and this is what you and I have been saying for a while. Pyro has been largely done. As far as building,
but like,
for a long time.
I would not be
And they're
shocked
just
if
polishing.
within the next month we see either unannounced work or Levski work.
Yep. Yeah. Soon.
Give Pyro. If you want Pyro sooner, go become a server engineer and go apply at CIG. They need help. Smithy, you have no. Smithy has like server work, server experience. Go help them. I don't know if you have any Shibata. Just become a network engineer and go help them out. Oh man.
So, quantum travel experience, VFX. Thank God they're working on that. I can't wait till that's updated.
I just want it not to lag when entering and exiting. That's all. I want.
I think that's gonna be a big part of it too. Because it does that on my computer at home, and it's like really.
It does it on 3090, quantum computer Threadripper, or whatever the top CPU of the week is. Like, it is not a graphics or CPU problem. It is a Star Citizen problem.
Yeah.
It just tries to do so much at the initialization of quantum travel that it just everything stops. And also the engine isn't built for multi-threading. So
so this is interesting.
Oh, that's great.
RSI links added to the 319 release window.
Yes.
When was that added?
Didn't they announce that already? That was the last progress tracker.
Was it?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't remember that.
I'm going back.
Hold on.
It's fine.
Got this.
We all have those things. I got this. Yeah. Our site links March 8th. A little more there.
Okay. I just forgot. I brain farted.
So no picture.
Just now popped up on the Delta report though. Or maybe it was added to the release view, but they didn't change. Yeah. Or maybe they all they did was they updated the. I think probably what they did is they just now updated the description on the progress tracker to say release for 319. It might not have said that before.
Because it doesn't say the tile was added. The tile was there because this is updated tiles.
It just says added to the 319 release window. Okay. Salvage vehicle.
Another very that.
VFX
also VFX work.
Assigned.
And the sprint ends at 328, which is, today.
Now, granted, I expect this to get elongated, but the
very
feature
much
team is an upstream team, and that sprint was only that long. So it's weird.
I imagine that is in a hold position.
Yeah.
Until some other piece of tech, maybe 318 doesn't crash on launch.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that they have as requirements from other people, I imagine that vehicle munching, which is the ability to cut up a ship and feed it into the grinder in the reclaimer, I imagine that is not a ton of work, but also work that needs more work than 5 weeks or 11 weeks. So it sounds bigger than 11 weeks of work. If they got it done in 7 weeks of work, I'd be shocked. Absolutely shocked.
No, that's gonna be a long, long thing.
Because that's like the last big thing for salvage. Now that we want that and siphoning.
Yeah, they might have had to get certain tasks done in order for someone else on a related deliverable to continue work on theirs on their end. a unannounced vehicle, and this is a single unannounced vehicle. So let's open this one. A single unannounced vehicle had all these teams assigned, and the sprints updated for it. So let's look at this unannounced vehicle. So when
that is a new concept ship.
Yep, this is a new concept ship. And a vehicle concept phase continuing. So not very long sprints. So probably not something huge. Probably something fairly small and simple. Unless it's something that they had already started developing.
You may be right on that one. Shimpos actually has a really good bet. The furry.
Well, I mean, it depends. Those are really short sprints. To me, this is a variant.
I mean, they can do MISC ships pretty quick. It's like most MISC stuff is kit bash at this point, just like Drake ships.
Well, I mean, if the Fury is a MISC fighter, I feel like that's going to be a lot different than the other MISC ships that we have. Like certain things might be similar, but I don't think it's going to be as same as the other MISC ships.
Makes sense.
Unless it's it takes more from the Razor or something, but even then,
I mean, the vehicle concept on it was.
Well, it's the vehicle concept phase is still ongoing.
Right.
Yeah, it's a weird looking deliverable. The way the sprints are arranged.
Stops in April. So when did it start? August? Yeah, it's a 37-week concept. Full time, one artist. So it could be like, it could be anything. It could be, now, if we know the name of it, if they've said the name of it, it's not unannounced.
Yep, and the links is up there.
The MISC Furry Fury, I prefer Furry because we haven't heard about it and it makes people upset. Anyway, not been officially announced. So, like, even the Titan is going to be not a unannounced when it's on the Progress Tracker because we know about it. They're not going to hide. Jake has said time and again, if we know the name of it, it is not an unannounced.
Yep.
The only reason we know the furry is because it has been leaked by the great and powerful SCL.
Night Cobb, what's going on, buddy? Vehicle tractor beams. Hooray, VFX team getting added. And oops, I opened that twice. So there's the VFX sprint right there. Still getting worked on by the EUPU team. That work that is on here has been evident in the monthly reports. Let's see. So today's the 28th. So we should have a monthly report next Wednesday. We should have both monthly reports. So looking forward to reading those. Night Cobb, I totally feel you. This course that I'm in is a good course. It's a good refresher. But it's all classroom for the first month. And so it's, yeah. And studying, of course. And I got my second shooting one. Alrighty. That's it for the Delta report. Let's see. Is there anything we want to look at on the scheduled deliverables? So what the scheduled deliverables report is it shows you can look at any one of these deliverables and these are the things that are being worked on. And so you can see that here is where they are in a given sprint. And this is the representation, the visual representation of that information that's in the background that we were talking about earlier. This is how Shiny Hobo is able to represent it. He's working on a better visual representation, but
something that doesn't do or doesn't rely on ASCII.
Yeah, because obviously this is kind of hard to notate on. It's really just a good visual representation, but you can see these asteroid facilities. Oh my God, I'm so excited! Actively being worked on right now. But you can see how there are 3 art devs working on 13 tasks from EU Sandbox 1. But they work on it, and then there's a little break, and then they work on it, little break, work on it, little break. And these are breaks that are just populated this way because of the way the schedule is. But let's see if we can find some of these. Oh, here we go. For, you can see that if you looked at this sprint for bug fixing and tech debt from EU Landing Zone 1, it would just be continuous. But it's actually breaks in between. Okay, here you've got some free time. Go ahead and work on bug fixing and tech debt. Here you got some. And so this is the way it would look if the bars on the progress tracker were able to be separated to actually appropriately represent what the information is on the back end. I hope that's a good representation. Naz, can you think of a better way to explain that? I feel like I'm not explaining it very well.
I think you got it. Like the holes in the like devs jump around more than the progress tracker lets us think. Oh, yeah. I think Landing Zone was actually a really good example of that. Like on the progress tracker, we would see EU Landing Zone 1 as a single bar, even though it might say a part-time bar because that's the only denotion they have. It's actually a sometimes they're working on it, and it's not even always the same dev. That's another thing that swaps around. The guy who does this first bar isn't necessarily the guy who does the second bar, isn't necessarily the guy who does the third bar. It's just where they have time to spend elsewhere. Let's say the guys working on Pyro got done, and while 3 or 4 people had stuff to go work on, the 4th guy had 2 weeks before he starts with a different team on this other thing. So put him on bug facing and tech debt. And those like random those leftover devs get pushed around a lot. So you don't have to take an entire team and say, you have to spend 100% of this amount of devs on every task you do. That means that you're going to have devs doing, spending a week on light placement. Like environment devs spending a week on a light placement or something. It's something they can be done in like an hour or so, depending on the task. I'm just using as example. So yeah, the progress tracker is hilariously simplistic, and it was designed that way for people who don't like to read. But in doing so, it's basically a system built for noobs, not for pros, and the pros want more information, but they still need to keep it noob friendly. So they have their work cut out for them. Shiny Hobo does a lot of good work to fill in that pro area.
Yeah, it's an oversimplification of the internal JIRA, but it is still meant to represent their JIRA. It's just simplified because that's the limitations of the progress tracker, but B, if they put all the information on there, it would be such a giant, it'd be too much information. You wouldn't be able to make any sense of this. But that's
anything could be a pop-up on the roadmap.
Yeah. Well, the Delta report is a good way of showing what is scheduled, for what teams, and how many devs are assigned to work on those things, and then how much work they're actually doing. Whereas the scheduled deliverables report shows you exactly what is being worked on right now and for how long by how many people. And that's why it's good to be able to click on these things, because you can see, okay, there's, here's 3 art devs right here working on their tasks through this date. Here's 2 design devs down here working on their tasks through this date. Art devs. If you have multiple types of devs, you get multiple levels of sprints. So that's why it's good to keep a look at this one, because obviously, just because a deliverable, has a bar going through it doesn't mean it's actually being worked on. There could be a gap, and that's where you use this report. So the additional derelict settlements that they were working on, that they said that they're going to have, a whole bunch more to release, because when Montreal was on SCL the other day, they told us that their throughput is 15 times what it was. they that's what these tools are for. They build the tool and they use the tool to develop the thing, and then they figure out they get the feedback from the devs. Okay, you need this feature in the tool, that feature in the tool, and we're going to go ahead and build these things in this way in order to be the most efficient and get the most out of it. And then, okay, now that we've fine-tuned this process, go forth and multiply. Okay, now they're going forth and multiplying, and instead of getting one derelict settlement like Ghost Hollow or the one, yeah, now they're doing 15. And that Ghost Hollow one, took them, how many months did they say? It took them like 3 months to make it, and now they're doing 15 in the same
something like that. Yeah.
And that is 15 using different ships, different
and that's
overlays,
the
different pieces, and each one is
that is the equation.
That library.
Yeah, that is the equation. That is the answer to people saying 10 years per or year per capital ship. That's the equation that solves that problem.
Yep. Yeah, it's
not just Montreal equation, but having built a MISC ship and being able to build 2 MISC ships, 5 MISC ships, 10 MISC ships in the same amount of time. So as we get, like, Drake ships can come out instantly almost. Like, if there's no, like, gameplay, it is very easy. They have a very solid material library. They know the shape language. Very easy for them to concept them out. They probably have 5 in the back waiting to just be built. Because they know exactly what Drake is.
Yep. So additional derelict settlements being worked on right now. We'll be seeing those in the not too distant future. I'm so stoked that they're working on asteroid facilities. Here, let's pull up the deliverable real quick. We'll just read the description and come back to this. Because asteroid facilities are going to be made using the procedural locations tool, just like UGFs, just like the caves, just like the derelict settlements. That's what all this is for. So adding new asteroid facilities to the persistent universe, handcrafted traversable areas offering different gameplay opportunities both in the interior and exterior of asteroids. So expect to see this getting some sort of
it's outpost in space.
Yeah, well, it's going to be and bigger. I would expect UGF size in space, and it's going to be. Yeah. I'm super excited to see these. They'll have hangars and such as well. There's a reason the VFG Industrial, the people who made the asteroid hangars from the original hangar module back in the day, they just got their article added to the Galactopedia. Coincidence? I think not.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, foreshadowing for sure. And I think that in the next quarter, we're going to get a CitizenCon style reveal for asteroid facilities like we did for underground facilities. So keep an eye out on that. Bounty Hunter V2, they're working on that. We know they've been working on that for a long time. It's being worked on by the EU Landing Zone team, the mission feature team, and vehicle content. So they're pushing really hard on this. It'll be interesting to see. I think this is definitely going to be a 320 feature. Bug fixing and tech debt. We'll work our way through this really quick. Building interiors.
Not what I
wanted. I wanted this one. Design and art devs. So they're working really hard on these.
I would actually be absolutely shocked if we get anything about this in game this year. So,
oh yeah, I don't think it'll be this year, but the when they did that video back in, what was it, January, and they said they're getting started, like they're working on the white box for it right now. For the building.
It's on the edge of possible, but I would still be shocked. Even if it's like the final like 4.0, well, 4.0 Eve Arcadi or whatever gets out this year, if it gets out this year, I would still be shocked. Even if it's like the first patch of next year, I'd still be shocked.
Yeah,
because this is not a small task.
No, I don't. I think we'll see like the first one, like, or the first, how they did with the derelict settlements, or the
derelict settlements, outposts, caves,
the derelict outposts. where we got 5. I think we'll get
Rivers.
Like 5. Yeah, or same with Rivers. I think we'll get like 5 buildings. Like one, we'll get or like one building at ArcCore, one building at at each planet with the interior styles that they use. The style guide, and then they'll expand it to more after that, and they'll be because you and I talked about this when we did our Spectrum Pulse on the Road to 100 Star Systems. Tony Z said this in the original Quantum presentation. Algorithmic, I think, what was the exact quote? Is algorithmic detailing of building interiors. So it'll use the procedural locations tool will use an algorithm to build out 80 plus, build out the building interior, do 80 to 90% of the work with just a click of a button, just like they do for space station interiors. And then the devs will come in and polish it and add a few things and make it look nice. But that's the whole algorithm part, is being able to just have an algorithm that says, okay, you have a building this size and it needs to have, based off the theme, it needs to have these elements laid out in this logical fashion, but we're going to randomize it, but it still is going to make sense. And that's what it'll end up being.
Yep.
I'm just going to skip through the chapters for Squadron 42 because it just shows a whole bunch more work, but it doesn't really tell you anything other than a crap ton of freaking work is being done.
We know more. The monthly reports tell us more, and basically we're in a hold position right now with Squadron work, just waiting for the announcement that we're in the year of advertising for it, which I still am hopeful for the CitizenCon to actually say that.
Northern Trooper, some of the chapters, I would hesitate to call them done. I would say that they are done.
Is anything done in Star Citizen? Until they say an announcement saying X thing has gone gold, nothing is done. Even if it's done, it's not done.
I would say
because they could always spend polished time on it.
If you went back and look at those monthly reports where they mentioned vertical slice, I would say that those parts are the ones that are nearly done, but they said it vaguely. They just said a few early
nearly
chapters
done
or something like that.
They're never going to say
done. Slice quality, But I would say that the parts of the game that they vaguely mentioned are vertical slice quality. Those are the ones you can look at on the progress tracker and be like, okay, yeah, they're nearly done.
Yeah, I'm hopeful for a 2025 Squadron announcement at CitizenCon.
Interesting enough, they're working on cutting Tier 2 with the weapon feature team. Cutting Tier 2 will involve, cutting your way into lockable containers, but also through doors. So it'll be interesting.
Which is also a Squadron feature.
Yeah, but it's one engineering dev. So it's an engineering dev building the tech for the feature, and then other teams will come in behind and and make it work, make it pretty. So it'll probably be a little while before we get cutting Tier 2. But we'll keep an eye on it. Dynamic events.
We'll probably see it in ISC
team.
well before.
Freight elevators work is finishing soon. I don't think that art devs. I don't think that they're gonna or it's an art dev. I don't whether they need to add more people to it. I don't know. The other good thing is we're at the end of this quarter, so we're going to be getting the next update during April, with the quarter 2 schedule for the downstream teams and the quarter 4 schedule for the upstream teams.
So the freight elevators already got audio work, and EULZ has already done work as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember it's just making a module for the hangar.
Yeah.
As far as art goes.
Yeah, as far as the visual representation and stuff, it just the question the big question is how soon will that be tied into the back end so that it functions in what we need it to do.
If it's not in 19, I would expect it in 20.
Yeah. Hacking Tier 0 Squadron 42 UI feature team, not UI tech, UI feature team. Hopefully
one dev has 385% load.
Yeah, somebody's getting their ass kicked,
dev.
But it's nice that a design dev is working on. if a UI dev is working on from the feature team is working on something, to me that tells me that the feature is working and functioning, and that they're working on the visual UI to better represent how to use it. Not
actually building out the UI, not the tech.
Yeah, they're not still developing the feature. Lockable containers.
What would you like me to work on for this week? Oh, just all the UI with hacking. Just go ahead.
Lockable containers, which is associated with hacking, but also cutting. Design and engineering devs working on that. So, map and radar system rework. We've been watching that forever. Please God, sooner rather than later. But miscellaneous support is a sprint that doesn't tell you much, but it's the miscellaneous support is where the along with bug fixing and tech debt is where things get brought up to speed. Jake told me one good example, and it was related to mining recently, and I can't remember, but it was a little update and release to mining that it was done as part of this sprint. If you remember when the Mustang, is it the Alpha or the Beta? Which is the one that has the cargo?
Alpha. Alpha has cargo, Beta has bed.
There we go. Yeah. So the Mustang Alpha, when it got its working cargo thing where the cargo came down and you could actually, put cargo in it and it's working, that was part of miscellaneous support and bug fixing and tech debt and getting, that ship caught up. So not everything that gets added to the game gets its own deliverable added to the progress tracker. A lot of that work gets folded into these sprints. New player experience, we have been following that. Outpost Homestead, Independent and Outlaw, they're mentioned how they're adding even more outposts to Pyro than they had originally planned because they have gotten so good with the Rastar tool and gotten so experienced with it, they're able to add more and take them to a farther level than they had initially planned because obviously server meshing has taken longer than we thought.
Right. And also they get to spend time on the modules to prepare a little bit more for player using Rastar and the outposts.
Mm-hmm. They have feedback into that tool is what will help prepare it for us being able to use it in the future. Not going to pay attention to that because that doesn't tell us anything, but the PES and server meshing task force is hard at work on getting PES up to snuff and working on server meshing. Persistent Hanger is being worked on by the gameplay feature team to design devs. And so that's interesting to see. Gameplay feature, if I remember correctly, they're an upstream team. So we'll see if does this have. Yeah, so this has landing zone work for Q3. And so if the landing zone team is going to be working on it, I think that is where those will be getting integrated into the landing zones. The new.
Do you think we're getting? Ooh. I think that's going to be 4.0.
I think it'll be 320.
We'll see who wins.
Yeah. Player
I think that
stuff
is going to add to the feature hype bubble of 4.0.
Mm-hmm.
Cat, no.
Quantum simulation.
Shoo. No,
6 engineers working on 20 tasks, 33% load. They're continuing to plug away on that. So it is being, and they've been continuing to work on this for a while now since they picked it back up. They really picked it back up and added more devs to it once PES was added to the main dev branch last summer. The PES was the big delay in adding more to the quantum simulation than what we have and more development to it than was done. We talked about this when we did our big Spectrum Pulse on it. Resource management.
And on buildings.
Yep.
Or planets. There we go. No. You sit down.
Let's see. Resource management. Yep, working. Anyway, this is Underground Facilities, Montreal Sandbox, and EU Sandbox are both working on it. They did talk about that in SCL, how they were both, they had teams from Montreal back in the UK working with them, to figure out their workflow and get their design, get everything locked down as they go into full production and go from white box to gray. So lots of really great work going on, and it's really good to keep track of it. But I think that's it for the Roadmap Roundup and ShinyTracker reports, unless you have something else that you wanted to take a look at.
No, I think we covered everything.
Alrighty. So that is the first half of the show. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who is still with us, hanging out in chat and watching.